Maybe you can start by briefly introduce yourself.
For sure. Hello there. My name is Bill Goon. I'm a fourth year here at UC Berkeley studying data science. I'm a current intern at GitM, which is a GPU infrastructure startup, doing product engineering work, and I'm very excited to be here.
And my question for you today is, there are two parts of this question. The first
Mhm.
part is, so you probably already know that OpenAI just um, just basically deleted the product Sora. Uh,
Mhm.
and do you think that Sora is a failed product and why? And the second part of the question is there a way to still leverage the video generation model without being a failed product?
Okay. Just so I have the right understanding, so there's two parts to the question. The first part is OpenAI's Sora product a failed product,
Yeah.
right? Sora failed. And the second part to that is what would make Sora like succeed, or I didn't quite get the second part there.
I think what I'm trying to get to is let's just assume that you're still leveraging the same technology, which is like the video generator.
Hmm.
But maybe instead of building Sora, you want to build another product to make Sora successful,
Okay, sweet.
or any other product successful. I'm just like using the name Sora here to,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
For sure. Amazing. Okay. So kind of thinking throughout this problem to address the first part about OpenAI's Sora product failing. I think in a sense it kind of just lost its competitive edge to other video generation models. Most particularly, I can think of Google's, um, I believe it's called anti-gravity. I forget the exact terminology, but kind of lagging behind in that race and deciding to focus more on other products like codecs and code generation models and things of that nature. I think it's still interesting though that Sora, even though the video part of it was kind of disintegrated, the image generation which was tied originally to Midjourney, is still like an active part of ChatGPT. So in a sense, I think maybe it was a product that wasn't the right call given the circumstances at the time, but I wouldn't necessarily dictate it as a failed product. And I think that kind of connects to the other part about how, video generation could be applied to another product and help it
Let me
succeed.
add a follow-up.
Um,
So what
yeah.
you're saying is Sora is losing its competitive edge,
Mhm.
and you're also implying that OpenAI as a company um, basically have too many bets, and they want to focus their energy on like codecs or like other physical AI stuff, right?
Yes.
I'm wondering like, do you think there are any other reasons why OpenAI is not investing in Sora anymore?
Hmm. Hmm. I guess maybe it just comes down to the cost of these kind of models. I would imagine with, developing text-based LLMs, they can kind of, help like codecs become stronger because you can have like the system prompts and like agent harnesses that help them become better. But video generation models are kind of like a different, I guess, like field in itself. So it would kind of be like a split of resources, which would make it hard to kind of win when coding and LLMs in general are like taking the main stage right now.
Mm. Any other thoughts?
Mm, I think also in a sense, maybe it could stray away from like the vision of OpenAI. So kind of developing a very safe model that is open for AGI, I guess, kind of strays away from that knowledge since like video production and generation isn't necessarily tied to artificial general intelligence in the aspect that I feel like it's more of a byproduct. The whole purpose isn't to generate videos, but more so be able to complete tasks that are more intellect based.
Okay. Yeah, let's talk
Mm.
about the second part of the question.
Sweet. If I may, I'm gonna just take a couple moments to kind of digest and maybe think about my approach here.
Take your time.
Right, sweet. So when I kind of think about maybe implementing a different solution that would kind of utilize the video generation properties of Sora, I kind of think of several user groups that could emerge. But I guess before that, I wanted to kind of get some clarifying questions out of the way. When we say another product, do we kind of want this product to serve a particular purpose, or is there like any like specific goals that is trying to meet? Um, Anything of that nature I should be aware of.
Hmm. Um, what do you think might be a goal for a company like OpenAI?
Mhm. I think one goal could be kind of increasing the use cases for ChatGPT. This would kind of help with growth into new markets that are previously not heavily utilizing ChatGPT and LLM technology as a whole. So it would kind of be like the wedge to introduce this technology to new fields.
Okay, what else?
Um, it could also, on top of just being a wedge to new industries, it could also reinforce the I guess like need an ecosystem of ChatGPT, so it would make it harder for people to maybe switch away from codecs and coding in there to generating videos using Nano Banana and like Google's like uh, video generation model. So it would just kind of create a cohesive ecosystem and I guess strengthen that core positioning there.
Got it. So, in terms of like business metrics, when you were talking about like use cases, increasing use cases for ecosystem, you're talking about like, are you talking about like more user retention that user find it more helpful, or are you thinking about like competing with your competitors, so you want to acquire more users from your competitors? What are you thinking about there?
For sure. So I guess speaking more about like the wedge to introduce, that would definitely play a part in kind of like contributing to the growth. So I think it'd be very like growth oriented. And strengthening the ecosystem, having like a stronger ecosystem kind of helps to, I guess, yeah, like you mentioned, like the retention aspect. So like thinking about like the monthly like active users and kind of keeping those as like metrics to keep in mind, to track as like the North Star.
Okay.
hmm Um, and then another clarifying question was if we were to kind of create another product, would it be built on maybe like any of the existing like products like Codex or just ChatGPT in general, or do we want to kind of keep it its own separate thing?
You can feel free to do whatever. Just imagine you're
Okay.
Sam Altman. So you have like
Yeah.
full power over everything.
Okay, sweet, sweet. Okay, that kind of changes things for me. So I'm just gonna take a couple moments to kind of rethink the user groups here and I'll have something to present.
Yeah.
All right, sweet. So kind of thinking about the different user groups here. The first one could be those who are very technically aligned slash adjacent users of Codex, ChatGPT, and all of OpenAI's products. So think kind of those who are software engineers, product managers, data analysts, and so forth. So their primary tech stack is going to be Codex, for example. The second one could be more those who are looking for text-based outputs, PDF outputs. Their main goal here is kind of fact querying. So think more those who are working within like the legal space, um, those who are working in marketing and so on. They're not really necessarily using Codex as their primary tool, but more so like just the ChatGPT model. The third one are just going to be casual users. So think normal consumers. They're not really in using it for work necessarily. They're just people who want to kind of maybe generate weekend plans or those who are not necessarily using this in a more professional setting. With those in mind, did you have any questions about like the user groups before I proceed or
I think it looks good. Which one do you want to focus on?
for sure? I think I definitely want to focus more on the fact querying slash text, so segment B, which would be more those who are not really technically adjacent. I think that kind of prioritization kind of goes to one of our goals, which is kind of introducing it to newer fields. So currently, Codex is very centered around those who are implementing code and new technical projects. So the use case for them may be kind of deviating from what they are looking for. So definitely segment B would be the one I'd like to prioritize.
Okay.
From here on, now that we have like the prioritized segment, I'm kind of gonna think about some pain points for each group or for that group, prioritize a pain point, think of some solutions and ways to track it at the end. Does that all sound good to you?
Yeah.
Okay, sweet. So, in kind of thinking about the pain points here, those who are kind of in the marketing, legal, and non-technically adjacent fields, one pain point A could be onboarding new hires. So, whether that be processes that are not um, documented super clearly within the company. So, take for example, maybe the steps like approval process for a particular marketing plan or design or think kind of like the conversation flow from onboarding a new client and onwards. Usually, ChatGPT is going to give a text-based output. So if this is a particularly like AI native company, then it might be harder for those who are being onboarded to kind of understand what these processes look like. So having a video generation model could be an interesting use case there. Second pain point B, is going to be not understanding explanations. So imagine kind of being a biology student or someone who's working at a biotech company, and you're trying to understand maybe particularly how a drug interacts with a cell. And currently, you would kind of hear or read about the processes, but it's kind of hard to visualize, and visual components are very core to understanding. Given these pain points, I think it might be better to kind of dive more into the explanation and comprehension pain point for this category. This kind of ties back to introducing new ways to kind of bring this into new spaces. So this could be an interesting use case for those who are in these non-technical fields to kind of get a better understanding of their own field. But then also, again, if they were to jump more into ChatGPT's other products like Codex, they can kind of understand what agents are, more technical uh, topics that are harder to understand with video. Does that make sense?
Okay, so are you saying that you are specifically talking about understanding like the ChatGPT related product, or like what are people trying to understand here?
Yeah, for sure. So this could be any topic that is just harder to understand with only text alone. So that's where the example of kind of like biology came in. If you're testing a drug
Mm,
and you kind of want to see what it looks like instead of just reading about it, then the video component can actually see the interaction at a cellular level, for example. It's just a way for people to understand something outside of the typical format, which ChatGPT already supports, which is text-based and audio-based.
yeah.
So from here on out, I'm just gonna kind of think of some pain solutions to this pain point, and I'll get back to you when I have something ready.
Yeah.
Okay, sweet. So I kind of thought of two different solutions to the problem of kind of having another alternative to understanding and explanation output from ChatGPT. So the first solution is going to be more of a new feature where you can kind of ask it to generate a video when confused about a particular output. So think maybe given an output, um, amongst the buttons where you can give feedback to a particular solution output, you can kind of click on a particular button. So it's again in the same format as the other buttons. It would just pop up video after generating it right then and there. The second option would be a more I guess a bigger scale solution. This would be kind of including a new platform on top of existing solutions. So on top of Codex and ChatGPT, there would be a new like learning mode where kind of, I guess it would build on the current learning mode. Basically, it would generate full-on courses to whatever you need explanation on. So if it's a particular concept within marketing or a particular concept within biology, you can kind of upload information regarding that. And it would take the current chat history, create a new course for you, and then it would be a quick course depending on like the depth of the topic, and then you can kind of get quizzed, video explanations, and so forth. Does that solution need any clarification, or anything?
Can you tell me more about like what is the difference between your first solution and your second solution?
For sure. So the first solution is more, I guess, less structured in the sense that it only generates videos when you want it to. So it would just be a simple video button that exists on the bottom of an output. You would just click it, videos generated, you watch it, and that's pretty much it. The second one would be kind of a new, expanding the current ChatGPT learning mode. So it would be a different segment that you would go more into, and it would include full on like interactive courses. It's, I guess, a more scoped up version where there would be questions at the end of each video and stuff like that. So it's a new way to learn, as opposed to just being a new feature on top of like an existing platform, basically.
Okay.
Yeah. Mhm. All right, sweet. So, yeah, when I think about which solution to prioritize, I think back to the business goals of kind of strengthening our ecosystem and also giving a wedge to introduce ChatGPT and all of its offerings to new markets. So, given that, I think the full-on interactive courses and kind of overloading or overhauling the current ChatGPT learning mode would be the best move here. So, kind of creating a new product that is more learning focused rather than just like the current learning feature. The reasons for this is it also makes it easier as a wedge to introduce it into new things. So there can be new use cases. It doesn't have to be limited to just learning a particular topic, but rather it can be used to test onboarding, to see how well someone's learning a particular material. It could also be used in like classroom environments. So students who are just entering college, they can kind of learn their high school coursework, or even in college, kind of learn some of their lectures and stuff like that in there. So earlier on, they're acquainted to ChatGPT products, which makes it stickier on our end. Did that prioritization make have any gaps you would like to poke at, or anything you would like clarification on?
Do you see like any of these solutions that you're talking about have any risk?
Mhm. For sure, yeah. I think the biggest risk with the solutions here would be the pricing and cost on our end. So, kind of taking a look at how expensive our video generation would come out to would kind of change how things would work. The video generation button, if it costs a lot more than just like the text-based outputs, then maybe the pricing structure around $20 a month wouldn't be sustainable on our end. To counteract those issues, maybe we can have set limits or separate like credit limits on token usage for each feature, similar to how maybe Anthropic utilizes separate limits for Fable as part of their core token window limit. Mhm.
Then how do you want to measure whether it's a successful product?
For sure, yeah. So I think um, I'll take a couple moments to quickly brainstorm, and I'll get back.
Yeah.
All right. So kind of thinking about ways we can measure success, switching my answer from before with monthly for growth. I guess kind of the North Star metric with this new product would be the number of enterprise clients. So I think the goal here is kind of to get people and organizations to adopt this product. So again, I kind of brought the use case of students, but also employees and companies. So number of enterprise clients that we get could be a good North Star metric because it shows whether schools are finding a need for this and adopting this tool into the work into their flow. Same with companies. And then we can also look at the percentage of token usage on video generation models from our ends to see if people are actually using something uh, or creating something with the new product that we have. And then we can also look at the conversion rates for paid users. So since this would be a new product that only exists to paid users, we can kind of see how many people convert, see if the figures jump up as a result of our new product. I guess some metrics we can track to see um, kind of as guardrail metrics, we can kind of look at the token costs on our end to see if like the video generation model, business model is sustainable on our end to kind of see if this is a product worth, continuing or. whether we should kind of discontinue it.
Mm. How do
Mhm.
you want to charge them when you're saying like paid users, or are you talking about like ChatGPT Pro subscription?
Yeah, so by paid users, I just mean anyone with like the pro subscription, so $20 and up. And basically similar to how Anthropic structures Fable 5, it would kind of just be a set amount of tokens they have total, and then a particular amount can be offset for just the video generation.
Got it. So, just out of curiosity, like, how do you want
Mhm.
to balance like the free version of your product versus the paid version of your product? And also, do you want to raise price for the Pro subscription?
Mhm. Mhm. So I think balancing the free product and the paid product. The free product kind of exists to give an introductory experience to our users to kind of see whether ChatGPT is right for them. And a lot of people are happy with the free plan since they don't have that intense usage requirements. I think in terms of the pricing model, I'm firmly in the belief that $20 per month is like the standard because we want to see whether this product is successful or not. We want to hold off on seeing if we want to expand our $20 a month plan. And since this user group is catered more towards who are not technical, those who are in the technical space don't really have that strong of a need compared to our other audience. So raising the price across the board wouldn't make sense to them. And kind of looking at OpenAI's current positioning as having a more cost-effective model with them releasing 80% lower pricing for ChatGPT 5.6. Literally, I think 1 or 2 days ago, I think having a more cost-effective solution is always a prioritization for OpenAI.
Do you want to add anything else?
Um, no, I think that's all.
Okay. What do you think?
I think it was kind of like a curveball because I think typically like the ones I've been seeing on Try Exponent just like design this for that. So I think having like that two-pronged like question, it was like kind of threw me off in the beginning. I had to like think about it. But yeah, yeah,
Yeah, those
yeah.
those product management interview questions you saw on the internet are boring. Okay, and I need like people in my group to really think about the very like timing events, and
Mhm,
that is where you can like help yourself to connect the dots. Um,
mhm.
so and also of course it is timing event, so it could give me more traffic as well when I post it on YouTube. So I'm just trying to like push you to think more. And I think in
Mhm,
general, um, you do have a very basic structure of answering the question, and I like your communication skills. You do communicate pretty clearly. I think what I want you to add more is mostly on how you brainstorm with yourself. I think you like in the future when you practice your mock interviews and stuff, like you need to really pay attention to that part. What do I mean?
mhm,
So, for example, the first part is basically a strategy question, right? Do you think Sora
mhm,
is a failed product? When it comes to strategy questions, like I bet like in your cohort or in your school, you probably know like several kids like interviewing for McKinsey or like whatever, right? So like
mhm,
the strategy question is specifically very similar to consulting interview questions where you want to have a MISI framework to cover pretty much everything. Okay. And then you talk about like losing the competitive edge to Google. Staffing,
mhm,
basically they need to focus more energy on some of the portfolio and image generation is still there. This part is not really like I get you want to prove that Sora is not a completely failed product.
mhm,
But this one doesn't really explain like why OpenAI is not further investing in it, right? And
mhm,
then when I push you more, you talk about cost of the models, which is a great point, a very great point. But then I would want to challenge you on this one, right? Like the cost of model is pretty high, especially for video
mhm,
generation, right? But the cost for ChatGPT is also pretty high. And they're also not like really like profiting right now, right? Because they have a lot of investments on other products too. Then why are they not canceling ChatGPT? Because ChatGPT have a big user base and they have pretty good user retention, right? Meaning that even right now you don't get the money back. In the future, you have the potential to get money back, right?
Hmm.
So basically, what OpenAI believe is that they're not going to get the money back from Sora, right? And there are
Hmm.
so many ways to monetize from a video, like feed or like TikTok like product, or from like just simply generating videos, right? So why do they not think that they can get the money back? Most likely is that their user retention is so bad that they just lost hope, right? So they're
Hmm.
thinking that they basically don't have product market fit. And that's why they do not believe that they can get the money back. So if you step one step further and talk about, yes, the cost of models are high, but also OpenAI doesn't think that they can get the money back because their user
Yeah.
retention is bad. That's probably why. That will take your answer to one step deeper, right?
Hmm.
The problem I have the most is you said video generation is not tied to AGI. That is purely a lie. Okay. So that is definitely not true. Why? Because AGI have so many different like divisions, right? And when you simply like right now, if you think about like software layer, if you think about like media layer, right? You definitely have to have like text generation, image generation, video generation. But like
Hmm.
if you think further, right? Back then, when you think about like Sora just came out, like somewhere in I believe 2024. Um, at that time, like the video generation technology itself is not very good, right? You
Hmm.
generate a bunch of things that doesn't really make physical sense. And reason being that we don't really have that much of a physical physics world data, right? And that's why Fei Li is trying to do world model, right? And video generation itself is basically like feeding back to the model to help you train the world model. So
Hmm.
it is aligned with AGI. And if you generate your videos well, meaning that you understand how the um, things interact with each other in your model, in your video, then you basically understand what is happening in the real world, right? And that's why back
Hmm.
then they are using a lot of like game data or like movie data to train their model because in that way
Hmm.
you can know like the physical model, right? So it's definitely tied to AGI. Um, so the last point doesn't make sense. Um, so I would want you to talk more about like user retention and monetization opportunities. And also later on, when you talk about like goals to design a new product, you also talk about like adding new use cases and ecosystem. You have this habit of not thinking about money. And, and for
Hmm.
example, like OpenAI is trying to IPO maybe this year or the next year, right? Then
Hmm.
like healthy revenue stream is very important. Like right now, like
Right.
Martin Brew is talking about they don't have a healthy revenue stream. All the like other medias are digging into this, right? Like Nvidia is
Hmm.
basically lending you money to buy their more GPUs. Like it's not a healthy revenue stream. So what is the thing that matter the most to the company, right? Usually you want to say user acquisition, user retention, and monetization, and then compare which one do you want to choose.
Hmm.
So you have this habit of not thinking about money, and you have to think about money.
Yeah.
And later when you talk about user group, I would hope that you can have a more quantifiable approach. For example,
Hmm.
like how big is each user group, right? And also you lost the perspective of whether they are using ChatGPT from a B2C level or a B2B level, right? You sometimes talk
Hmm.
about legal marketing, but like are they using ChatGPT for work related stuff or not? Right. So it will be very helpful for you to point it out early on. And
Hmm.
also, when you talk about your goal and talking about building into the ecosystem, you kind of implied that you think being a standalone product, Sora being a standalone product is one of the reasons why it failed.
Hmm.
Otherwise, you didn't make it clear why you want to build into the ecosystem,
I see.
right? So I think this will be a very good topic for you to dive a little bit deeper in your
Yeah.
interview. So like your whole interview answer is basically like you trying to show the interviewer that like you're good in some like checklist, right? And
Yeah.
this is a good timing for you to say like, oh, I thought about this and I had this
Hmm.
like strategic thinking in like whether we should invest in a standalone product versus to an ecosystem, right? So
Hmm.
I would wish you could like make it clear at the very beginning. And why do you think you want to add it into the ecosystem? Uh,
Hmm.
And um, also when it comes to like previously I talked about like you not having a lot of points in your like strategy answer, and also
Hmm.
like the points are not very meaty. In your pain point and solution, you kind of also have this problem popping up. Like you have two pain points and you have two solutions. It's not enough. Okay. Pain points and
Hmm.
solution is the time, like pain point is the time that you show the interviewer that you have user empathy. The more you can
Yeah.
talk about pain points, the more I can feel that you can feel what users think, right?
Mm.
And the solution is the part that you talk about your creativity. So you have
Mm.
multiple solutions to solve one problem, right? So I would want you to have at least three pain points and solutions. If
Yeah.
it is only two, then it is also very hard to show your prioritization skills later. So
Right.
for example, you talk about legal marketing, right? A big
Hmm.
problem for marketing is that if they're like working in corporation, right? They have a lot of use cases for video generation for like marketing assets. So back in the days when I worked for Tesla, we spent uh like tens or like hundred thousands of like US dollar to produce a ad, right? To produce
Mm.
a video ad. It is like very time consuming. It is also very like costly to create a like well-performing video. And also you need to have a good vendor to create a script to do the photography, right? Everything takes time.
Right.
And also back then we were shooting the ad in Xinjiang province, which is like a place that normal people usually don't go, except they are like going to tourist, like as a tourist, right? So like
Hmm.
you also need a team to travel there. You also need to figure out how to fly drones. You also need to figure out like that's the early day of Tesla entering China. So how do we even get a card there, right? All of these logistics stuff take your money and take your time. And this is
Mm.
specifically make a lot of sense if you use a video generation tool for the marketers, right? And
Right.
in that way, it can save them a lot of time and energy. Um, and also for the marketing assets, they a lot of times they do not need as complicated like interactions as like other like consumer facing videos. So what do I mean by that? So for example, for bigger stuff like cars, right, or like housing stuff, you don't really need to understand a lot of like how human battle with each other, right? Like that is probably
Hmm.
more difficult. So from technology wise, it probably will be a easier implemented thing with a pretty good ROI. Right. So
Hmm.
there are a lot of like other pain points or other solutions that you could think about. And then when you talk about learning mode, when you talk about interactive course, um, I think there's an elephant in the room here. Okay, so um, I would expect you to say something like, okay, I have the solution, and then let me take one step back and think about what are the other similar solutions out there, right? Because
Mm.
what you're saying is very similar to a notebook LM to me.
Yeah.
Then how are we competing with them, right? How are we differentiating with them from them? How are we building a better product than Notebook LM? And do we have our own resources, right? For example, um, I remember that Sam Altman has a very close relationship with Canada Academy.
Mm.
And can we work with them, right, to build a more like media rich or like content rich interactive course, right? So these are
Mm.
all the things that you could make your answer like more shine, right, in front of the
Yeah.
viewer. Um, and also when you talk about when you talk about your pain point and solution, you have to like improve your storytelling a little bit. Like I
Hmm.
can understand what you're talking about, but it's like not emotionally connecting with you because I can't like tell how painful it is for the users. Let's say
Yeah.
if you change your storytelling to another way, let's say, right? For example, a lot of times when I want to learn something on ChatGPT, I choose to use deep research, right? For example, back in the
Hmm.
days when I was interviewing for Waymo, right? I want to understand how Waymo is doing as a company. I do deep research, and that is my basically step one to learn about everything. When I was interviewing
Mm,
for Neuralink, I know nothing about brain chip, right? Then I do deep research to give me a report about the brain chip, and then I will start from there and then search the whole internet to see what else I can get. But then the
mm.
deep research article is long as hell. Okay. So like it takes me like a weekend to go through the huge research. And a lot of times I still don't understand what you're talking about. I can ask follow-up questions, but then first of all, your research is so as long, and then I will like ask more follow-up question. It is so hard to like follow the threads. So what I did back then was literally just copy paste the whole text on a Google
Mm,
Doc and then ask further questions on ChatGPT, right? It's a very
mm.
not intuitive interaction. So can we make this process easier, right? Can we, instead of
Yeah.
sharing a long ass article, you tell me like you give me a video and we can have a more interactive way of figuring this out. Right? If I talk with you, let's say just like some maybe when I was doing research, I was talking with like one Waymo employee or one Neuralink employee, right? They are basically telling me the similar stuff in a more interactive way, right? So can we
Hmm.
create that interaction on ChatGPT? So in
Right.
this way, you can make the interviewer engage with you, right? You can
Hmm.
tell them that this is a very painful problem, and I am solving the problem that nobody can solve right now on deep research. So that's
Hmm.
how you can make the interviewer relate to you. Later, when you talk about risk, so first of all, prioritization, usually like if you don't have, you could have a lot of criteria to prioritize, but at least you have to have three, which is you mentioned the business goal, right? Basically, impact to business goal. The second one
Yeah.
is engineering effort because you have to build everything fast in the tech world.
Hmm.
So how long does it take? If your solution takes 3 years to build, do you still want that solution or not, right? And the
Hmm.
third one is potential risk, which is the follow-up question that I asked you. Um, like there are so many risks, and it is not only about cost. Cost is one of them, right? There's also
Hmm.
IP related risk. Sora got sued before it got canceled, right? So,
Mm.
are we gonna think about that? So, legal risk, privacy risk, all of these are like basically whenever you're launching a product, you have to think about all of that. So,
Yeah.
these are usually the very bare minimum criteria when you prioritize solutions. And
Hmm.
oh, lastly, the last question is pretty hard for you. So I was basically asking, what is the balance between free and paid, and whether you want
Yeah.
to raise the price, right? So this is a pure math problem. So I would expect you to say something like, um, so freemium is a good way for the users to understand what you are offering on the premium side, right?
Hmm.
But is it worth it? Or how many times do we they can use the product? When is their aha moment, right? Let's say creating 3 videos is their aha moment. After they create 3 videos, they would want to purchase your product. They would want to continue doing this. They get the value of the product, right? Then you only
Hmm.
showing them one chance when they're free is very unlikely for them to convert, right? So where
Hmm.
is the aha moment? And also, how much money do you want to throw on the freemium side to know that it's worth it, right? So how many of them are going to convert your projection basically? And what is the price that you're going to get from these additional users? So this is a
Hmm.
pure math problem. When it comes to pure math problem in a product sense, whatever question, just give the interviewer like a formula, like tell them how do you want to calculate. You don't need to tell them
Hmm.
direct answer whether it's worth it or not. You just tell them how do you
Yeah.
approach this problem.
Hmm.
Those are all of my feedback.
Hmm. Sounds good. Thank you so much. Yeah. I think
It's,
mhm.
it is a hard problem.
Yeah, yeah. I was like kind of like trying to digest like the problem in the beginning. I don't think I like played enough with Sora to like kind of fully understand like the domain around it as well. So yeah, it's definitely helpful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's okay. I think in your interview, the interviewer are like very likely to ask you a question that you're very uncomfortable with. And
Hmm.
it's okay. Like first of all, it's a canceled product. So it has the reason to be canceled, right? So it makes
Yeah.
sense that you never use it. That's like
Hmm.
probably why they got canceled. So you can literally tell the interviewer that I haven't used Sora for a super long time, and this is my
Hmm.
understanding of the product. And please let me know if you want me to add anything or I miss anything,
Hmm.
right? So you make sure that you're on the same page with the interviewer. Like the interviewer doesn't expect you to know everything, but as long as
Yeah.
you guys are on the same page and she knows how you approach the problem, that is good enough.
Hmm. That makes sense. That makes sense.
Any other questions?
Um, I think then like when you have like I guess like the limited understanding then like on top of like assumptions, is there anything like with like the solutions, like if you are not quite sure of like kind of like the specific user groups, like specific issues, if that makes sense, like what is your approach to that?
Oh, that sounds like your problem. I think you have to. So a tip for that is, I think first of all, I think empathy is a thing that first of all see whether you are like you were born with it. I have
Hmm.
to say a lot of people were born without empathy. But that is like a very small percentage of the total of population, right? There are psychopaths in our society. And the second
Hmm.
is whether you're trained with it, right? So usually like also I feel like it also depends on my mood. Sometimes my like my empathy is like pretty good, sometimes it's not. So
Hmm.
I have my way of like making sure that I'm on a high like empathy mode when I go to interviews. What do
Hmm.
I mean by that, right? That you can ask questions to people that whose life you're not very familiar with and
Hmm.
then train your empathy on top of that. So for example, when I went on Uber rides, I always like ask the Uber driver or like the Lyft driver, how do they make decisions, whether they want to accept a trip or not. And they
Hmm.
will tell a lot. Like the Uber drivers really appreciate people talking with them. And
Hmm.
they will tell you a lot about their life. And like how early do they come out and start Uber rides? How many rides do they take? And how much margin they can get from the Uber rides? And what does the platform have done to them? And how does the platform help them, right? Stuff like this. So they will tell you
Hmm.
a lot. And then you add in more perspective, right? I feel like we tend to live a very like narrow life, like every single one of us, right? So we got to like talk with other people to know other people's perspective. And especially like the more people who are very different to your life, the better, right? Because you
Hmm.
don't know what they're dealing with. So if your parents are also in tech, well, too bad for you, you don't have empathy. You can ask someone who is probably not in tech, right? My parents are not in tech, so I know like, oh, what is like like parents who retired like 30 years ago, like live their life, right? So like I have
Hmm.
that empathy, and then I probably want to ask more about maybe like a disabled parent, so I can understand their view as well, right? So there are like so many different people in this world that you can just like ask to train your empathy.
Yeah, for sure. That makes sense. And I guess like what kind of like resources would you recommend to kind of like learn more about like mocking and stuff like that? Like I currently use like Try Exponent, like I have like a couple YouTubers I watch and stuff like that. But outside of that, like what else would you recommend?
Mm. I think like these tools are only helping you to develop your very basic framework. At the end of the day,
Hmm.
you will develop your own framework. It's just whatever you feel comfortable with, and also like you know your strength, right? So you develop the framework to show more of your strength in your interview.
Hmm.
Um, what I found is that like find a good friend or like anyone from our community. Find a good one,
Hmm.
okay? There are bad ones out there, but like find a good one, and then just sit with
Hmm.
that person. Go through like products together. Like you guys don't need to do
Hmm.
like formal mock interviews. You guys just like today, let's just look at ChatGPT. Let's just like play with every single function that exists on ChatGPT. And then we will talk
Hmm.
about how to improve every single one of them. And we will brainstorm.
Hmm.
For example, like on ChatGPT, why is the first column new chat, the second column library, the third one scheduled, fourth one plugin, last one codecs, and there are more, right? Why do they put GPTs into the more three dot menu, right? So like all
Mm,
of these small decisions, how didn't they make the product decision? You and your friend discuss all of them every day. Just go through one product, and then you will
mhm,
realize that you reach a depth of like how the product made decisions, and then you move on to the next product. I did that with one of my friends, and she is really good during COVID, and she is also like my neighbor. So we literally just like tens of hours like in one day just discussing products. Like we go through
mhm,
like Facebook, Instagram, everything like back then in 2020. Right? And that really trained me a lot. Like after you've done that for like not even need to be long, like after 10 days, you realize that similar
mhm,
products make similar decisions. Like people who
mm,
work at Instagram can work at Facebook too. People who work at WhatsApp can work for WeChat as well, right? So it's
mhm,
like very similar product decisions. So maybe after 10 days discussing totally different product, you have your aha moment. And then whatever the interviewer gives to you, like throw you like different type of question, you realize you brainstorm like similar questions before. And that is your
mhm.
like realization, like point of realization.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Okay.
Oh, best of
I
luck.
th Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for your time. It's very helpful.
And in the future, if you want more mock interview, I would like suggest you probably do like this type of formal mock interview, like on a bi-weekly basis. So
Hmm.
feel free to schedule with Yogesh.
For sure. Sounds good. I'll be reaching out. Thank you.